Okay, good evening, everybody. Before we start, I just want to recognize somebody I met at the supermarket this afternoon. He came up to me very excited and he said, "I know who you are. You're Mr. Cooley on the Board of Education." So I don't know his name, but he said he watches the things every night, and I just want to say hi to whoever you are and thank you for watching. Okay, will everybody please stand up for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay.
Tom, how old is he?
I'm not really sure. Maybe like 8th grade or something like that. Yeah, he was very excited. Maybe there's a future board member. Okay, so first item on the agenda is superintendent. Well, do I have? Yeah, we could do superintendent schools. Give us your report.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. If you're in the audience, thank you for listening and watching if you're at home. Last week, we presented our first budget presentation that went into full detail of the planned budget for this year. We were hoping to have some news from the governor's office. They were supposedly going to come to an agreement today and announce an updated legislative budget. However, at the end of the day, they instead postponed their budget passing of a new budget until Monday, April 9th. So hopefully with the eclipse, we will get some news on that day as well. If anything changes in our state aid, we will have a special session of the Board of Education on April 11th to present an updated version of what it will be a very similar budget, but with restoration of some parts, including the staffing pieces, based on if there's any state aid provided back. If there's no state aid provided back, we will continue on the course that we currently have. I'm sorry, April 8th. I did that last time too. Yes, April 8th, Monday, April 8th. So for our report tonight, we're just going to do a little bit of around the district, things going on since last week. And also Ms. Messerol is going to present the 3-part budget, which outlines the breakdown of our budget prior to the board's opportunity to kind of ask questions and then adopt a budget, hopefully on April 16th. Again, we are hoping to hear something from the governor's office within the next couple of days, hoping to see the restoration that our district deserves. If that happens, we will have a special session of the Board of Ed on April 11th with an updated version of the budget. If that does not happen, we will continue on with the budget that we have. So first, I just want to congratulate the Sayville Music Department. Our music department is outstanding. They were named for the 14th straight year as a best community for music education. Sayville is one of 975 school districts across the country that received this distinction. 14 years in a row, though, far less. According to the NAMM, the award program recognizes and celebrates outstanding efforts by teachers, administrators, parents, students, and community leaders who have made music education part of a well-rounded education. So I just want to take a moment to compliment and thank our music staff for providing that for our students. Also want to recognize the high school students in our RISE program in AP Biology. Students from the Science Research and AP Bio classes recently completed laboratory work at Cold Spring Harbor DNA Lab. Students visited the museum exhibition on human evolution, including the first ever Neanderthal skeleton reproduction and an exact replica of a 5,300-year-old man found frozen in the Alps in 1991. So we want to just thank the students and staff. Again, here is another example of our teachers going above and beyond, providing opportunities for our research students and our AP Bio students. We also had some guest speakers at the high school in Mr. Snickens' math applications class. At the high school, they hosted 2 battalion chiefs from the New York City Fire Department. Students learned about what it takes to get into the FDNY and how to climb the ladder, so to speak. Students asked great questions and said afterwards it was very informative and motivating to hear about different job opportunities in the fire department. Also want to just mention, we don't have a slide on it, but the Boston trip went off without a hitch. And I just got a text from Dr. Castoro that the kids are now having a dance party after traveling through the city and seeing some museums today. They're having a great time, and everyone is safe, sound, and doing their thing in Boston. And today I happen to have a great opportunity to watch the Suffolk County Police Department presentation to our high school students on opioids and drug abuse. She did a wonderful job. And I just want to compliment the Suffolk County Police Department, really giving a sobering and informative talk to students. It wasn't like a fun talk. It was a matter of fact. This is the opioid crisis on Long Island. This is how it affects kids. It can kill you. This is what you should do if you are in a situation where you see somebody having a drug addiction. This is how you can help. This is how you can deal with a situation if it occurs. And I just thought they did a great job. The students were just mesmerized and watching intently and participating. So I just want to compliment the PPS department for putting this together. And also the students were great, and it was very informative and very real for our students. Also want to just remind everyone about our upcoming parent workshop for students with eating disorder awareness and prevention with Dr. Zachary Jacobs. That'll be on Tuesday, April 9th at 6:30. We have a Zoom link, and it's posted on our website if you'd like to participate. Again, just providing opportunities for parents and students to learn more about how they can have happy, healthy, successful lives. This is just another great workshop being put together by our PPS staff. So thank you to them. And that's basically around the district. Oh, one more thing. Just again, we're having an eclipse on Monday, April 8th. I got the date right this time. And it's really important to just tell the kids not to look up at the eclipse. I just read an article today. You can really do damage to your eyes if you look up and watch the eclipse without glasses. So the district is providing glasses, I believe, Ms. Timo, to every student in the district, pre-K through 12. In our elementary schools, we're doing science lessons about eclipses so they can learn about it, the phenomenon behind it, but also how to be safe while watching it. And we expect the eclipse to occur around 3:25, 3:35, just about during our elementary dismissal. And we also have a really nice activity at the middle school where the high school students are coming over, and we're doing like a watch party for the eclipse and informing the middle school and high school students about that. Anything to add on that? Okay, great. So that's kind of what's going on around the district. And now I'm going to turn it over to Rhonda, who's going to give a really thorough presentation on our three-part budget, just always aligned with our goals. And the one thing I do want to say about this budget, it's been a really tough budget cycle. We had to make some sacrifices, but what I can say with great confidence is the one thing that we're really happy about with regarding this budget, despite the funding cuts, we have presented a budget to you that does not cut one single program for kids. Every program that exists this year for kids will exist next year, whether it's STEAM, whether it's science research, whether it's electives, AP courses, art classes, music classes, every experience that kids have had that they're signing up for, they will continue to have. And that was really important to us as a non-starter when we designed this budget. So it's not the budget we wanted, but it does maintain those programs for our kids. Rhonda.
Thank you, Dr. Ferris. Before I begin, I understand if you're viewing from home, some of the pages that have more of the details for revenues and expenditures are quite easy to see. However, for our audience here, I had put out some handouts of the revenue and expenditures, the detail pages that may be a little harder to view on our presentation. So this evening, I will present the proposed budget in the three-part budget and contingency budget review. Again, this budget is based upon the one that was shared with the Board of Ed and the public on March 27th. And it is, again, reflective of the governor's executive budget. As Dr. Ferris said, a little disappointing, but we still do not have any updated information. So Dr. Ferris in the last board meeting had shared our journey from the fall through the cuts of our foundation aid and the process that we had taken to get to our balanced budget. Again, for 2024-2025, the total balanced budget stands at $103,416,857, and this is a 1.34% increase over 2023-2024, $1,367,966. We are cognizant of the burden placed by on our taxpayers, our residents. The tax levy increase is at the tax cap of 3.996, which is an increase over last year of $2,543,091. Here again, I have shown the comparison of our 2023-24 actual budget with that of our proposed budget for 2024-25. The largest variance being in our state aid figure, which is a combination of the loss of foundation aid by $3.4 million, and then the increase of what is our expenditure-driven state aids for the net of $2.3 million. We have local revenues, which comprise our tuition and billings to other districts, interest earnings, and then also our payment in lieu of taxes for our one property within the district, and our appropriated reserves. The appropriated reserves is what we are committing to fund the 2024-2025 budget, the various reserves that we have, and there are very specific purposes for which we're appropriating. That is has been done routinely throughout. As you can see, that also is a little bit of an increase over last year. And then our appropriated fund balance, that balances off our budget. And the large increase there is with the appropriation of excess funds from our unemployment reserve, which will be prior to June 30th, a separate resolution that the Board of Education will approve and authorize the use of. Again, those funds have accumulated in the unemployment reserve through COVID, where many claims were being paid out, some true, some false, and then there was money that came back to the district on those unemployment payments that were made, increasing our unemployment reserve, which is not needed. So we are looking to use those funds towards funding our budget. And then the largest of our revenues is the property taxes below, as I had reflected in the prior slide. So here's where the revenue sheet separately may be helpful to you. Again, this is representative of the more summary page that was on the slide prior, but it has a breakdown comparatively from the 2023-24 budget to this, and as well as the appropriated reserves that we are putting forth to apply to the 2024-25 budget. And then down below, we have what the average homeowner would be subject to in terms of the tax levy increase and the rate down below. So as I had said, this is, we are very aware of, we're sensitive to the affordability of the community, but also putting forth a budget that preserves and enhances our programs here. And as Dr. Ferris shared, there have been no programs that have been cut with this budget. And the tax cap, just a little bit of history, came into play in 2011, and we have been at the cap, as I will show in another slide. And then we just weigh and balance the needs of the district with the financial capacity of the voters to support that budget. Here is a 5-year historic look at what the calculated tax cap was, the maximum, and that is down the middle column by year. And again, for 2024, 2025, that was calculated at 3.996. And we are going to the tax cap at 3.996. And in each of these years, we have pretty much gone to the tax cap, except in 2020, 2021, we went slightly below that. But the reason why we have chosen to go to the tax cap is twofold. It's consistent. It's what we need to do to preserve our programs. But also, as I had shared at our last meeting, had we gone below the tax cap for this particular budget, it would be even more devastating because the cuts in terms of balancing the budget would be even more so. So that is the rationale used for that. And that tax cap has been filed with the Comptroller's Office and is reflective in this budget. I also like to, just to go back a little bit, I also like to emphasize that the tax levy is what you are voting on. It is not the tax rate, which is applied based upon each individual assessed value of a person's home. This is just another way of looking at our revenues, pictorial, but you can see that the largest revenues are that of our property taxes and our state aid. And when you compare that to last year, it was a little bit of a difference. There was a little less on the property tax side and a little more on the state aid side. But those are all of the revenues that are part of the revenue side of the budget. Here again, take out that separate schedule of expenditures so you can see it better, but this is how we present the different categories of the expenditures. And the largest is the investment in our staff and here in Sayville and the teachers and everyone who makes the programs work for our students. And then that also includes the employee benefits on those salaries. That is the largest share of the expenditure side of the budget. Going down the column, we have our debt service, which is both our short-term and long-term financings of any construction work we do. That's our principal and interest. And we have our contractual expenditures outside of BOCES that's separately labeled there. There is a piece of state aid that is generated from our BOCES aid, our shared services that we engage in each year. Then we have our supplies, textbooks, workbooks, and another large expenditure is the transportation of our students to and from school. That also includes special education, parochial, and our field trips and athletic travel. At the bottom is the transfers to the capital fund for capital projects, particularly the $1 million that is indicated there is for the bathrooms renovation at Cherry Avenue and the completion of bathrooms at Sunrise Drive that would take place this coming summer. Next is a transfer to our special aid fund for those special aided grants that in particular is a partially funded from the general fund. That's the 20% share of our summer school handicap program. And then down below is the equipment. That was reduced in our second rounds of budget meetings that took place to come down to the budget of $103 million this year. It's $188,635, and that is all of our 0.2 codes of our budget. But there, you cannot move into equipment codes. You can only move out of equipment codes. So you anticipate what your needs for equipment would be so that you're not, shortchanged on that.
Transportation, I noticed you're able to save almost 3%. Was that just through optimizing everything possible?
So in looking at what some of our other travels are, we look at, by April 1, Anyone who is going to a parochial school has to submit that application prior to April 1. But we did look at that even beforehand, where it was trending, and then on some of our handicap transportation. So that was, it's always kind of a guesstimate. You'd never know if you're going to get another student perhaps that comes into the district that needs that type of transportation, or maybe the needs change. But we really carefully looked at what our transportation costs were and where they were trending. And that's the number that we were able to come forward with. Every code and every department was analyzed in depth, which it's done all the time, but even more so with a careful eye because of the circumstances that were surrounding our budget process this year. And then this is, again, the expenditure side of the budget with the different components of that and the percentages. So this is where we get into the three-part budget, and it is a required presentation as part of our budget process. So the three components are administrative, program, and capital. And there's a pie chart there that just depicts what is on the left side of the slide. So just so that you know, the administrative portion is all of what we have here in administration, but also our a majority of our administrative BOCES services. And the largest increase in this category for this budget season was our insurance, our district insurances. So that is our general liability insurance, which has gone up double digits, at least the last 2 years. It's just where things are trending in that world. Just more, I guess, natural disasters that have occurred, and that all has a ripple effect in terms of the rates and premiums that we then also are subject to. For our program, that's the largest piece of where our expenditures are, and that's obviously why we're here to educate our students and provide for all of those programs. So again, the administrative is at 9.52% of the total budget. The program is at 72.56%. And then the third category is capital, which are our capital projects and anything that we expend to maintain our buildings and any repairs. And also that's where our debt service costs are. So that's at 17.91%.
Like all IT and supplies and everything, does that go into? Sorry.
So
I'll ask the question again. All the IT, computers, supplies, books, which category does that fall into?
program,
It does fall into
that
program.
goes into
Okay.
programs.
Rhonda, I had a question.
Yes.
How often are the district insurance policies, do they come, do they have terms? How often are they renewed or
Yes, so
rebid or?
So they are an annual renewal. I'm actually going through that process right now for the 2024-25 year in terms of all of the data that they collect. And it's a lot. It's on student numbers, what types of BOCES programs, what our fixed assets are, because that's a component of our insurance. So our insurance is a New York State Insurance Reciprocal, NYSER, which is what a majority of districts use, at least in New York State and on Long Island. So that is a renewal each year that we have a process we go through. Those insurances are paid at the beginning of our fiscal year. So, certain expenses are cyclical and some are fixed throughout the year, but a majority of our insurances are paid at the beginning of the year and run from July 1 through June 30th.
Thank you.
There have been a few new players in insurance more recently. It is something that I suppose we could take a look at, but again, NYSER is the largest insurer of most of our school districts.
And that's insurance, right? That's insurance not personal insurance like health and dental.
No, it's our general liability. It's unallocated insurance. So it would be bonding insurance, just any type of claims that would be submitted to the district outside of any health.
And is that the same kind of process where, I forget the term, but where if a large number of districts go into something that there's a discount or something?
Consortium
Yeah,
of
right.
districts. Yeah, they do. What NYSER also offers, which is not a reason to go or not to go, but every 5 years they give a free fixed asset appraisal. We're in the fifth year. We also have had some work done to our building, so the timing of that is very good in that you want to make sure that your assets are adequately insured. So they do have a component that they do offer. In other words, each year they do a risk assessment walkthrough, which they had just done this past Tuesday. They go to every building in the district and they offer a lot of different programs to districts. So it is somewhat of a
Right. Okay.
consortium.
That was the word. Thank you.
Okay. This is the three-part component budget summary that is broken down and compared to the 23-24 year. Again, this is the budget that was presented on March 27th here again tonight. And there's the dollar change between the 2 years and the percentage change for the 2 years. So it's odd to see a negative. But under the program, that's largely due to the retirement incentive and the lower enrollment and the reduction in terms of our staff for the program piece.
And that's exactly what our hopes were with the incentive, that we would be able to reduce the structure, but still maintain moderate class size and all the programs.
Correct.
So the incentive money worked for that purpose.
It did, yes. But that there was that, comparatively the salaries that were from 1 year to the next. So, and this is, it's what I'm required to present, but what happens if the budget fails? And so this is seated in law, but if the budget does not pass, the Board of Education has the option of putting the same budget up or putting it to a revote, which would be the third Tuesday in June, which is June 18th. Or they could adopt a contingent budget. If the budget fails twice, let's say the district were to put up the budget vote again and it failed, then we would go with a contingent budget, which is at a 0% increase of the current year's tax levy. So the difference would be we would have to, again, further reduce our budget by $2,543,091. That would be another big feat, but some of the programs that we would then not be able to run, we would have to eliminate all of the equipment. The capital construction projects for the renovation of the bathrooms would not be able to take place. And it would also then hurt the extracurricular or the co-curricular programs that we have and pieces of our athletics. And in the next slide, this is just more, but what that also would result in is a lower budget than what we are managing and was adopted for the 23-24 year. But there's also more constraints. So a contingency spending limit would also, you have to look at what the administrative budget cap is. So you take the lesser of the calculated administrative cap by just taking the administrative and the program pieces of the three-part budget and the percentage of that. So when you take that information for 2023-2024, the amount was 11.03%. And when you do that for the proposed 2024-2025, that's 11.60%. So you would then go with the 11.03%. That is the lesser of the two. So that would, this is what a contingent budget would look like as opposed to the adopted. And this is where the 2.5 million would come from. 484,120 would come from the administrative portion of the budget. 978,471 would come from the program piece of the budget. The capital budget would be reduced by $1,080,500. That's pretty much the bathrooms and equipment. Because debt service, there are certain things it's the non-essential, those that you must go forward with is what would remain. And there's just some more dates. As Dr. Ferris had shared, we do have a tentative date of April 11th. We're hoping that at that meeting, we would be able to share maybe additional state aid through the legislative budget. And that would be a presentation, pretty much the budget presentations that have been made, but with different figures. April 16th is when the Board of Ed is to adopt our 2024-25 proposed budget, along with the BOCES budget vote. That is a Tuesday evening. That date was selected because schools are closed the following week, and the board must assemble to approve the BOCES budget vote on April 16th. So that is typically when districts are doing both of those adoptions the same evening. During April, and we're past, April and May, we're going to be providing budget presentations to PTAs and other organizations in the district. And then May 14th, we have our budget hearing, and that's going to be held prior to the regularly scheduled Board of Ed meeting. And it culminates with May 21st, the statewide budget vote and board election, annual board election. So the next few slides are related to voter registration information. I might add that this presentation, as well as additional information for voting and ballots, may be found on the website. The ballot applications are there as well, and information for the seats of the Board of Ed. So in order to vote, you must be a registered voter prior to the election on May 21st, 2024. The district clerk is able to register voters during school days between the hours of 9 and 3. As well as there's an evening offering of May 14th before the budget hearing from the hours of 4 to 7. But you must be 18 years of age or older, an American citizen, a resident of Sayville Public Schools, at least 30 days prior to the vote, and have been registered to vote in the general election or have been registered to vote in the school district. And if you are unsure if you are registered, there is a contact number here that you may reach out to the Suffolk County Board of Elections with their number and the website. What's new this year is early voting, and it is very, very similar to an absentee ballot, but it looks a little different. I think the envelope may be a different color, but that is new for this year. And there is additional information here on how you may obtain one of those. Again, if you have any questions, you certainly could reach out to Julie Vaccaro, our district clerk, and check the website for additional information.
So I guess what's different now is you don't need technically to be absent, or out of the district.
Yes. And what's on the ballot? The proposition number 1 is the school budget vote. There will also be propositions for the library and for our historical society. Those individuals will be here to present May 14th at the hearing with additional information from their entities. And we also have the election of 3 Board of Education trustees. So Those petitions are available in the district clerk's office. And the voting will take place at the old junior high between the hours of 7 a.m. and 9 p.m. on Tuesday, May 21st. So I just want to thank both the community but especially our Board of Ed, who's very supportive of us. I had selected this little quote here from Eleanor Roosevelt: "It takes as much energy to wish as it does to plan." But I must say we have done a lot of both of that, planning and wishing, during this budget process. So thank you.
And I just want to mention, thank you to Rhonda. She did a ton of work for this budget, as did the entire cabinet, just kind of working on the personnel to ensure that all programs stayed in place. As someone had asked last meeting, I have been in contact with Jared Gandolfo on numerous occasions, just kind of getting updates about the situation in the state budget. And as you were finishing your presentation, your wish came true, because the governor announced late today that she'll be removing her change to state aid formulas for this year.
Wow.
And while the runs aren't out, it looks like there's going to be hold harmless restoration.
Wow. All right. Good
And that
news.
just happened 5 minutes ago.
As it's all playing.
So,
Yeah.
well, the good news is we've gone through a really extreme process with our budget, that we've kind of put together a really detailed budget. And now we just have to build back some things and then present to you again. So we're going to have a special session on April 11th now. And we're going to mark your calendars, because we're going to give you an updated version of a very similar budget, but with additions that are cost effective and also logical for the community.
Wonderful. Great news.
Back to work.
Back to work. That's some work. That's some work I don't mind doing, because it's
Yes.
actually putting things back in place for our
Yes.
kids and families.
And deservedly so.
Hopefully all of it. Hopefully all of it.
As I said, I want to be cautious. The exact, I want to be, the exact runs are not out, but she's basically pulled back on her plan. So
Okay.
yeah,
Yes.
that's the letter writing campaigns. That's the advocacy. I have to say, Senator Wyke and Assemblyman Gandolfo were very involved, and we appreciate their support.
And also, I want to add a special thank you to the teachers and staff for their efforts, because if it wasn't for their advocacy, we definitely wouldn't have had the impression that we had and the success, hopefully, that we're going to have with
Right.
this. So thanks to them.
It looks like that'll be officially out on Monday.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whew. Any questions for Rhonda about the budget?
No, the next one, I guess we'll say.
So Board of Education.
Yeah, hold on one second. Let me just catch my breath. Okay, so for Board of Ed discussion, we have the National School Board Association Convention. Any comments?
Maureen and I are on our way tomorrow to attend in New Orleans, and I think we're really looking forward to learning a lot. Maureen, you've been to more of these than I. Yeah, I've never been to one, actually.
Well, what is very good is to see how other states do their taxes, and I want to see.
I'm like-
I want to see if things have changed. People in other states do their taxes, school taxes on, and I'm generalizing, on your personal wealth instead of your properties. So I want to see what has changed through these years. I haven't been for a few years, so it'll be interesting what they're providing for our students, what we do better, what if they do something that we should be doing. That's the best part of it, is talking to. And then we have seminars about the federal laws and whatever. Excuse my voice tonight. This whole thing took me by surprise. Thank you. But we'll inform you about what's going on there when we get back. It's always interesting to see what other states are doing. And the New York State School Boards is really interesting to see what we're doing so much better than other districts.
Okay, I think you have something else to announce, right?
Yes, I'm happy to announce that our former president, John Verdone, who unexpectedly had to resign earlier this year, was recently announced as a winner of the Distinguished School Board Service Award from NISBA. They're going to be honoring him at their 64th annual business meeting and school board service awards dinner Thursday, May 30th. So we just wanted to say congratulations to John Verdone. He's
John
very
may be
well-
listening, so we'd
John,
like to
if
give
you're
him a round of
listening,
applause.
Congratulations. That's a very well deserved award. And we're just really happy that they're going to be honoring you. So we'll be there with you.
I just want to actually thank Kelly for having the thoughtfulness to follow through and submit that. John taught us all a lot, and we were all heartbroken when he left.
Yeah.
So just thank you, Kelly, very much.
Thank you. Okay, I do have one other announcement to make. Carl Cangelosi informed me that he will not be running for re-election this year. So there will be an open seat. So he wanted to, well, two, actually, John's old seat and then Carl's. So I just wanted to make that public knowledge. And then the other topic we wanted to bring up, we wanted to have a discussion regarding our board agenda from last week's meeting, with the outburst and everything. I did some research and I wanted to share with you maybe a suggestion that we could do is rearrange our agenda so that we have a public comment period just after our board discussion, but it's only for agenda items. So people can then comment on any agenda items that are on the agenda. And then we would then do our board business, vote on our items. And then at the end of the meeting, then we'll have a general public comment period. This way, we can also focus on the agenda. These are the topics that we're voting on today. If there's any comments from the audience, they can make comment and then do our business, then have the open comment at the end. So I was wondering what you'd think about that.
I think it's a good idea. This way, focus on what our agenda items are, and then at the end, if anybody has any concerns or topics that they'd like us to look into, they can bring that up.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to express support for it too. I think it's important just that people understand. So the first set of questions is what related only to agenda items. And then again, after we go through and we consider it and we vote, then if there's other general items. I just think it's important to communicate through our protocols that we have business to conduct and that's the focus because we're here to educate children. I think this supports that better and I appreciate the revision.
Okay.
I also think it's a good idea. I've been through several board meetings in my profession, and that's much more the norm.
Mhm.
And I do think that having a time to focus on if anyone has questions, issues, or ideas or thoughts about the agenda, focuses them on that, and then we can deal with anything else after that.
So I think we'll stay as is for today, but then we'll incorporate it in the next agenda for the next meeting. Okay. Good. Any other topics? No? Okay, so let me, excuse me. Oh, yeah, okay. Can I have a show of hands if anybody would like to speak today? Okay. Thank you. 3. Okay, before we start, I'll read this statement. The Board of Education appreciates feedback from the community, and we recognize free speech as one of our fundamental freedoms. These freedoms are not without restrictions. We follow regulations specified by law and board policy, and we encourage our community members to offer public comment. According to the Sayville Board Policy 1230, we request the following. Board participants in public session must demonstrate civility as they address the board and community. 30 minutes have been set aside for comments by the public. The board reserves the right to limit or extend public participation if it deems necessary. Comments and questions from the public are limited to 3 minutes per person and should be related to school matters. Speakers are requested to identify themselves or the group they represent and direct their comments to the board. The board will not permit discussion involving individual students, district personnel, or community members. The full policy is available on the district website, and we appreciate your support to have a public productive meeting. There's also other policies you can refer to. It's 2341, 2342, 1230, which I mentioned, 1240, and 1240R, and gives all the information regarding our board meetings. Thank you. So who would like to speak first?
The last time I asked you how many assistant principals you have throughout the district, you didn't answer my question. You came up with this thing about how many assistant superintendents you have and what the other districts have, which doesn't really pertain to us what they have. It matters how this place is run and how this place, if this had to be run like a corporation to turn a profit, it'd be a whole different thing. You people work for us. We pay your salaries, okay? The taxpayers. Another thing I wanted to ask is, are teachers allowed to ask questions at these board meetings that live in this district? Are they allowed to get up here and ask questions? Because it came to my attention they're not. And that shouldn't be. If a teacher lives in this district, they should be able to get up here and ask questions. My other thing is the sign on Sayville High School that I passed by. Well, wait, let me back up. Who makes the decision on where the cuts come from? Who makes that decision on how many teachers are going to get cut and maybe an administration doesn't get cut? Who makes that decision? The other thing is the sign on the Sayville High School that I pass every day. How much did that cost? Instead of putting that sign on there, why not put metal detectors at each entrance to the high school so that we protect the kids? Okay? Did anybody ever think of that? So that's my points. All right. And like I said, you people work for us. We pay your salaries.
Want to clarify one thing. The school board does not receive a salary. It's a volunteer position. Oh, but you're saying you people, so I
And the
thought,
other thing is, one other thing, because I still have a little time. When I ask a question, I expect an answer, not so I can have a rebuttal. Not that I sit down like last time, and then he comes up with the thing, well, East Islip has 3 superintendents, and this one has this many assistants. I should be able to get a rebuttal in. Not that I sit back down, and that's how everybody should be. All
okay,
right?
thank you. Thank you. Okay, as far as the procedures of the board meeting, you can look them up online. It's a comment period to raise issues or topics to the school board, and we will address them as best we can. Thank you. Is there anybody else that wants to speak? Okay,
She's gonna come up with me in case I run over time to meet with me, or she'll just wait there now. That's okay? Before my minutes. before my
That's-
minutes begin, these are your budget calendars. If you'd like to be transparent, please hand them out to everybody.
Hold on one second. What are you're just
I'm
speaking?
going to read, and like a couple have done in the past, if I don't finish, the other person is going to finish. for me.
No,
So-
no. Just take your 3 minutes and raise your topic. I mean,
Okay.
okay.
Well, I just want you to know what she's reading. The next person will be my writing. Can you give me a minute to catch my breath, please? Since the last meeting, I hope we all learned you cannot enforce discipline in our schools or your wishes of compliance at board meetings arbitrarily. It doesn't work. And in this room, you're a New York State governing body. Therefore, doing so is unconstitutional. Sending security staff to someone's home is ridiculous. Do you do that to everyone who speaks over 3 minutes? Perhaps we should have had 7 or 8 budget meetings, as we always did, before proposing anything, so we could have 3 minutes at each of those to ask questions and state our concerns. We're told 21 minutes at least. Maureen, you know that from the past, what we've done. So does Tom. I do my research and I have a lot of questions and concerns. And if you don't treat me well, you won't treat others well. I am here for them, the community, and staff, not for me. And they are watching you. At first, I thought someone was impersonating the district with all that's going on today. But the second time security showed up, I was embarrassed for our district. I've been attending these meetings for 2.5 decades, and having run for school board, I research everything involved for what my responsibilities might be. I have a background in law, finance, management, negotiations, among other things. Therefore, you're not hearing from an uneducated person, and I have no axe to grind. My children had a wonderful experience in this district. This district was always financially sound, mainly in line with what our community could afford as well, to offer all students a sound academic education. This community, where 70% of staff lives, cannot afford 70 to 75 cents of the revenue pie you envision. Enrollment is declining. Going forward, state aid might be cut anyway. You need to be responsible if you want to save jobs, or don't you care? Community financial support is an extremely important factor in our ability to support our children. The way we are headed with your short-term planning will harm that ability via more cuts, more instructional cuts, plus staffing cuts, plus an ever-expanding budget coupled with potential reduction in state aid due to enrollment declines. You put less and less towards the kids, the instructional budget. We need long-term thinking, which I have not seen these last 2 years. Due to that fact, we don't have an appropriate number of detailed budget meetings. There are many items no one knows about can question, such as employee medical insurance settlement of $1.6 million, of which $434,000 will be applied to the insurance increase in this budget, and the $250,000 increase in New York State for transportation. Your last presentation said you made cuts of $300,000. Did you cut 3 buses? You have a 5-year contract. You mean that cut was not really a cut. It was leftover fund balance, a surplus from this year, and a combo of state aid increase of $250,000. That's just a couple. So please stop lying to make it appear you are first making non-personnel cuts in order to justify your staffing cuts. Doing so is deceptive. Does the staff know that? Probably not. You are also putting aside $1 million for your new surplus reserve account, and it's not earmarked for anything, but you are cutting staff? Last year, you said it was $400,000 you were going to put in it. By the end of the fiscal year, it was $1 million. Is this the superintendent putting in a raise? Others have in the past. Is the superintendent, putting his raise on hold? Others have in the past, and at least one administrator is now. Thank you to them. Which administrator is getting a raise when you cut staff for kids? We have more administrators than Connecticut and Brentwood. Did everybody hear that? Okay. So you finish. Right here.
We had no time to ask these questions over months of regular budget discussions. The community won't find out until June or August what you actually did with the funds, including any restoration of state aid. That is after we vote on this budget, and we are supposed to trust you when we had one budget meeting lacking truthful information. Give me a break. As Teal began to mention at the last meeting of our state aid if our state aid is returned, and this current budget is adopted and approved, you're not only telling the governor cutting our aid is okay, but you have no right to decide on your own where that 3.5 million or whatever it is goes or does not. State aid is our taxpayer money, and we have a vested interest in this community and this district today and into the future. And here you are scaring people about a contingency budget. If your current budget fails, you won't go to contingency. We should force you to put up a new budget in June with our restored state aid included, repair what you messed up in the instructional program, and give the remainder back to the community where you expect them to make it up now. In sum, you are asking the community for 4% increase, an incredibly high number today. You are putting $1 million of that into a surplus account and cutting staff and programs. This is ridiculous. That's why you didn't put up two budgets like you promised, because we would see while they were side by side, you have no plans to do any of what Teal mentioned with our state aid. You have told people all different stories about what you will do if aid is restored. You are not truthful, nor are you transparent. You need to sign up with Refit New York, the organization Teal mentioned last time, which fights for fair New York State funding, and get off your rear ends and advocate a proper funding partnership with New York State, like John and Norm did in the past. Speaking to a legislator or two is nothing, or why are you here? Kelly, breaking the law, New York State opening meetings law in particular, like saying names and proper meeting notifications, etc., regardless of your intent, is disrespectful. Nothing personal. These things are the responsibility of every BOE member. Due to recent events, Teal brought a couple of petitions with her. If anyone would like to sign, please do so. Nothing to fear. Most of you speak to her, including people at the table. It's about time we all come out of the closet and breathe. Teal is unsure if she is running. I personally hope that she does. She would be an asset to the district. Perhaps not to you, but to the district. The petitions are good to have. Thank you.
Any other speakers? Okay, thank you. Superintendent will address some of the open items.
Sure. So just want to start with Kevin. Thank you for your question. Universal Pre-K is based on, we got about $750,000 from New York State for Universal Pre-K. However, we're only allowed to spend $5,400 per child. So right now we have 7 sections. If we open up a 8th section, we will be able to access the additional, I believe it's about $60,000 in state aid that should come to us. But to run a program, it costs us about $150,000. So it helps to get the $60,000, but we need another chunk of money to kind of finish off the deal. So what we're going to do now that we know that state aid is coming, we have to wait for the run, which is what they give us the exact numbers. And then we have to talk as an administrative team, principals, Board of Ed, about what things we would restore in the budget. I absolutely said to you last time that that would be under consideration because we do have about 20 or 30, 20 students on the wait list. Is that about right? 14. So if we have enough to run a section and it's fiscally doable, we'll consider it. But I can't promise you now because we just got this news. We're going to look through all those pieces. But we would want to obviously provide for students who are in our school system to be able to come to pre-K. Mr. Speets, thank you for your comments. We have 3 assistant principals, 2 at the high school, 1 at the middle school, and currently there's an elementary administrator at the Lincoln Avenue School who is currently not in next year's budget. So the plan for next year from our current plan was 2 assistant principals at the high school and 1 at the middle school. I'm just going to keep answering the questions. Okay. Teachers are allowed to ask questions at the board meetings if they'd like to get up to the mic and ask a question. I believe we had some coaches. Well, there's no rule about that, and they can certainly do that. In terms of who makes decisions about staffing, we work with our principals, we work with our administrative team, we collaborate with the STA and the Board of Education, and ultimately will decide on whether they accept or deny our proposals. So basically, we have meetings with the department chairs, the principals, look at staffing. What we did this year was we looked at every single grade level and every single course and every single subject being offered. And we tried to make sure, and we were able to, that every course that a kid signed up for, they were able to get. So that's what we did in that process. And we'll revisit that again, knowing that there's some state fund money coming back, planning out how we're going to do that. And we'll have our special meeting on the 11th to kind of present a new plan, hopefully with no cuts. In terms of addressing the last comment from Ms. Rizzo, some of the things that you said just are not true, and I don't really know how to respond to them. We have a very clear and transparent budget presentation. We did delay the presentation because we were unsure of if we were going to get state aid or not, but the three-part budget was just presented tonight, which we just did. Last week, we did the other, the overall, and now we're going to do another one on April 11th with the adjusted amounts based on what state aid we get back, but we're waiting for that state run to come hopefully by Monday. We're going to have a special session on the 11th because we, yes. Yes.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
24 on the wait list.
24 students on the wait list, yeah. So each section is 18 students. So if, all right, thank you. Yes. So we are absolutely motivated to try, but I can't promise. And just in terms of the other comments, we, as a Board of Education, live in the community, not we, they as a Board of Education live in the community, they pay taxes, they care about the programs for the students, and they get to make the final decisions on the budget that we propose. They have to adopt the budget. Our budget proposal, from our perspective, is based on what we think is in the best interest of kids, based on the work we do with our teachers and staff, and considering the fiscal responsibility for the district. We do have a long-range plan. The comment about the capital reserve, we did put $1 million into the capital reserve last year. We are planning to put $0 as of this moment into the capital reserve for next year. In fact, we're not funding, I believe, Rhonda, any of our reserves for next year based on the current state, but we might change that depending on what the state aid run is. Is that accurate?
Yeah, Rhonda, also explain why we put it in the capital reserve.
So the purpose, well, I think it was 80% of our residents approved the establishment of a capital reserve. So if you're going to have a capital reserve, you must fund it. Otherwise, what's the sense? But a capital reserve allows you to provide for capital projects without incurring long-term debt, which there's an interest component to that cost. So it is a very prudent manner in which you could address capital needs and projects within a district. I believe it's unlimited annually, and up to 10 years you can fund this. So the $1 million.
10 million is the cap.
Yes, 10 million is the cap. No, maybe 8 years. Okay, 8 years. I'm thinking of my last capital reserve that.
Okay. But the point of the capital reserve, in essence, is to avoid needing to do bonds where you're paying interest.
Correct.
And in fact, you're accruing interest for those projects. But in our current plan, we don't fund that at all.
No.
So no, we have a fund balance projection, but we did not know up until a short while ago what was happening with Save Harmless, what that even meant for the years past 2024, 2025. So it is very prudent to fund reserves in a very strategic manner and also to utilize them for their specific purposes. That is sound and fiscal accounting and, fiscal plan.
And we can't use that capital reserve.
The only way we can use the
Correct.
funds is if we have the community
has
vote
to
on
be
the
a
specific
public
details. I just want
referendum.
to, let's
Hold on.
let me just,
Oh, so
Go
may I
ahead.
answer?
Go ahead.
Okay. The $1 million transfer from the general fund to the capital is to work. It's a transfer for the Cherry Avenue bathrooms. That's outside. I'm sorry?
Already appropriated for the bathroom stuff, it was a fund.
It's part of our, no. It's part of our budget. If our budget isn't approved, that's the first thing that goes. It's a
built
$1 million
in.
transfer from our general fund, an interfund transfer to our capital fund, a separate fund for addressing the Cherry Avenue bathrooms and the remaining Sunrise Drive bathrooms.
and that's not the capital reserve. That's a separate.
No, that
amount.
is not.
It wasn't clear on
Okay.
it just showed, it wasn't clear, this reserve. It was
Okay, we're going to keep, I just want to keep answering. The other thing is, we are obligated by law to present what would happen if the budget failed. It's called a contingency budget. We are not allowed to not mention it. So we're not trying to scare the community by saying, if the budget fails, this is what we would have to do. It's the law. We have to explain, if the budget fails, this is how much money we would have to shrink the budget by. This is the areas that are legally not allowed to put money into, like equipment we can't do, things like that. And also then come up with a plan. And we have the right, the board has the right to put up the same budget or revise the budget, make it less, to the point that Teal made, which is a good option always. I would never recommend putting up the same budget, because if it failed the first time, that means the community doesn't support it. So the second budget should be a different budget. And then if it fails again, then you're required to be on contingency. So those are the options, and we're obligated by law. We're not trying to scare anybody. We're just obligated by law to mention it. In terms of, I think I answered most of the questions. I just, I want to say again, we care about children. We want this budget to be one that provides for them, and we also care about the taxpayers feeling comfortable with it. The reason the tax rate is higher is mostly that 2% cap is higher is because of inflation and other factors. That's the rate. Right now, our plan is to go to the cap. Depending on what the state aid runs are moving forward, we have to reevaluate and then put up a new presentation to you on April 11th. So that's where we are.
You want to address the question about the sign in front of the high school?
Yeah, my understanding,
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding that was raised by fundraising. It wasn't a purchase by the school district.
I was told, I wasn't here when it was put up, but it was a donation from a group that raised money for the
Yeah.
sign. I don't think it was part of a budget. I'm not positive though, because I wasn't here at the time.
You've got about $1.5 million in extra assistant superintendents on your budget.
I don't think that's accurate. But
1.518 million. So, right around there, I've got that off the web. I'm pretty damn close.
Okay.
Don't you think that's a little bit too much?
that number's not accurate. I'm
It's very
thinking,
close,
but
very close.
Okay,
An
so we're gonna-
assistant superintendent.
let me, I just want
I mean,
to,
that's $1 million.
excuse me, sir.
not the number.
I just have,
I mean, talk about numbers. Anybody
Excuse
on
me.
board an accountant?
excuse me.
It's not a back and forth, Tom. We don't.
We're not doing a back and forth. This is a public comment period. You had your comments. We're trying to address the issues that were raised. I just want to say, one issue that was raised about using names at board meetings. It's a public meeting. You're allowed to use names. There's no breaking any law by someone that comes up, offers their name, and to say, thank you, Mr. Jones, for your comments.
All right.
No,
We're
excuse
not
me,
having
it's
a
not
back and forth.
I'm just stating, we asked the question, we got the answer.
I also just want to say, I got a text from Mr. Hoffer, who's watching the meeting. The sign in front of the high school is donated by the Athletic Foundation, and that's the one that's in front. So it was not paid for with district
Yeah.
funds.
Tom, thank you for breaking up the meeting with, I think that's a great idea.
Okay,
I just want to thank
public, yeah, I
Okay,
know, but
okay.
public comment period is closed.
I know.
Okay, the other question about administrators and principals and the admin. Comparing our district to other districts in Islip Town, don't shake your head, I'm just giving you a fact. We are the second lowest administrative structure in Islip Town.
That doesn't mean it's right.
But it means we're doing much better than other districts with less.
Let me jump in there.
I don't think we should.
No, no, don't,
Yeah,
please.
all right.
Okay, but I want to address that.
What's required, they don't understand what's required.
Okay.
I think we should move on.
Yeah, no problem. Do we have anything else besides that? Okay. So then now we'll move on to board business. I need a motion for items 601 to new business items. Actually, no, we'll do recommended action finance 705. A motion?
Motion.
Kelly, Christine, discussion? All those in favor? Against, motion passes. Then I need a motion for items 801, new business personnel, to 902, new business other. Motion? Second?
Second.
Okay, James, Kelly, discussion? All those in favor? Motion passes. Okay, then we have upcoming dates. So we have on April 9th, a parent workshop for for eating disorder awareness and prevention. On April 10th is, what is this? Eid al-Fez? What is it?
It's a, could you,
Uh,
yeah, it's a holiday.
Oh, that's right. No, because literally a colleague of mine was celebrating that. That's right. It's very interesting. And then on April 16th, we have a Board of Education meeting at 7:30. Oh, sorry, and April 11th. It's not on my list here, okay? And then I would need a motion to go into executive session to discuss employment of particular personnel. Motion? Second?
Second.
Okay. Christine, James, all those in favor? Against? Okay, we're going to exec session. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.